Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Tabletop RPG Junction. My name is Jordan with a silent PH in the middle. Today we're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff. Boy, it's been a week. It's been a lot of stuff. Thank you guys again so much for your support. If you're new here, this is a weekly show where I just talk about all of the tabletop news, Kickstarters, crowdfunding, and stuff like that I find interesting, things that have popped up during the week, and then we talk about them. If you are curious, this is also available in podcast form. It comes out live on Saturday mornings and then on podcast on Monday. Please subscribe to both either. There are links down below to the Substack where you can go and get to the podcast version of the show. And welcome, Tabletop Junction, ttrpg Junction show. My name is Jordan. I've already said that. Let's dive on right away. Whoa, what is happening with the news? So, boy, what happened? I have I got a book from, for those of you who don't know, I got a book from Wizards of the Coast. It's the 2024 PHB, which I've started calling the new 5e. NU5E, but I don't think it's going to stick because some of the major brand websites out there are calling it 5.5. But I got a new 5e book and started flipping through it with an email that said, hey, the embargo is released on August 1st, because that's when they were going to start selling the book at Gen Con. So I did a live stream on my main channel, basically like showing off the book, being like, hey, this is so cool. We have a book. I've done these before. And usually when stuff like this comes out, I'm not a mechanics heavy person, so I don't really talk about, the best builds for Warlock and things like that, because I don't really care. I think it's fun to just, but yeah, it was a new book. It's obviously like popular, people are talking about it. So I made this live stream, and long story short, Wizards retracted the embargo. They basically said, hey, we're going to, we actually don't want you to show certain pages, and we're a little scared of piracy. We're scared of people like taking pictures or screenshots of your video and then stitching together their own PDF. We're scared of that happening. We don't want all of this. Please don't do this. You can talk about the book, show it off, but don't show it off, if that makes any sense. So I retracted my book I retracted my video, and then I blurred all the pages as instructed, and I put it back up there. Thinking, I don't know, somebody might listen to me talk for 3 hours about the PHB. And it was at that point, a little while later, that I got a copyright strike on the Jordan channel, which is kind of a big deal, and it's a little spooky. And I talked to Wizards about it, and then within a day it was retracted and it was gone like it never happened. So that's really awesome. And made some drama on Twitter, and yeah, so long story short, we have a new set of rules going forward. I decided to just delist the video entirely, and now it's gone. And I did work on a video kind of updating people for the main channel, but I decided to not upload it very quickly. And I'm glad that I did, because new stuff has come out. Wizards actually sent an email and said, hey, we're sorry this happened. I'm glad that it was resolved. We still want to work with you moving forward. And I said, that's great. Thank you so much for understanding, blah, blah, blah. So with all of that, I don't necessarily, anyway, long story short, I'm going to make a video. I have made a video. I'm going to edit it a little bit, and then I'm going to release it on the main channel. So if you're interested in that, it'll probably come out on Monday. And just as a little like heads up, this is what happened last week. But yeah, so it was kind of weird. A lot of YouTuber friends got behind me, and I made my name was dropped on a couple of websites, so that was kind of crazy too. So it was just a weird time. That was a complete miscommunication. And my ultimate takeaway from all of this is that Wizards wants to work with influencers. That is true. They want to work with like YouTubers and things like that. They are new to working with YouTubers. They don't really understand the process. And on top of that, D&D is still like $1 billion it's still a big billion-dollar entity. And so we can't treat Wizards the same way that we would treat Kobold Press or Monte Cook Games or these fun little indie, not even indie, those guys are pretty mainstream, but like all of the indie developers, from my point of view, they send me PDFs. They want me to show off what they sent me. Like they want people to get like hyped for it. And so taking that and getting people excited is kind of the norm. But when you have a billion-dollar entity, there are a lot of lawyers involved. And so I personally feel like we need to treat Hasbro more like a Nintendo or a Disney. Doesn't mean we don't work with them. It just means that we have to remember you're a Disney, you're a Nintendo over being an indie RPG content person. Like you're not making fun little RPGs that you want people to sell. You're making a lifestyle brand, which is mind-boggling, but they're doing that. So that's kind of my takeaway, and there's no real hard feelings. Like everything was resolved. Like I'm good. So other things that I thought was cool this week, Bob Worldbuilder made a video on what is a ranger, and he kind of compared the ranger from new 5e, old 5e, and Tales of the Valiant, DC 20 I think as well. And it really got me thinking about like, well, what is a ranger? And I personally think that the ranger was always to me like a fighter, because my interpretation of the ranger is Aragorn from Lord of the Rings. And I think that's why the ranger is here. They're like, oh, it's a ranger from the north. And Aragorn to me was always just like a fancy fighter that had maybe like a little bit of elvish magic. And in the world of Dungeons and Dragons, I feel like ranger shifted into what the paladin is to the cleric, the ranger is to the druid. And mechanically, I also feel that that fits what it is really well. So if I was going to ask like, well, what is a ranger mechanically in a game of Dungeons and Dragons, in a fantasy game? What is a ranger mechanically supposed to do that makes it feel rangery? And I don't think I have a really good answer, other than I always assumed that it was a paladin is to a cleric what a ranger is to a druid. And so rangers should have a companion, like a beast companion. They should be good in forest. They should be good of this. A paladin will have not animal companions, but they will have squires and other people following them around. And so you are an authority figure in your area. So an authority figure paladin is in a kingdom. They have people, things like that. A ranger is an authority figure in a forest, like a more nature-centric center, but kind of have similar things. And in that regard, I was like, I think that they kind of do a good job. But it was interesting to see, like, a lot of people are like, I don't think of a ranger like this. And I was kind of surprised. And it made me shine a fun spotlight on it where I'm like, you know, we could actually go back to even earlier and say, like, originally the druid was just a cleric that got to a certain level and went towards a nature thing back in BX D&D. It was like a high level thing. And so the fact the druid is like a naturey cleric, I feel like a ranger should be like a naturey paladin. If we're going to follow like game logic from early editions of D&D. Now, if we're not following that and we're going off of like, well, I feel like rangers should be like this because of movies and books that I've seen, or books that I've read, movies that I've seen, that is a different direction. And now I'm just thinking about all kinds of character classes, because like, why mechanically do we have a wizard and a sorcerer? Why are those two things separate when in all of the books and movies and stuff like that, they really are synonymous? It's like a mysterious person that has magic, whether you've studied it or whether you just like have magic. And then to a certain extent of that, warlock is kind of the same thing. This guy has some kind of weird eldritch knowledge that other people don't have, and that's why he's scary, like fear of the unknown. So is Gandalf a wizard or is he a sorcerer? Like it's up in the air. Like he knows magic. He's he's a magical-esque being. Good job, Bob, and I really like that. There's links in the description to the video if you haven't seen it, but I definitely recommend it. I thought it was a good watch, and it got me thinking about things, which is important. Dragonlance is coming out with a book called Dragonlance Legacies. It's a new trilogy from Weiss and Hickman. I've been known to say that I'm not the biggest fan of Dragonlance. Not to say that I dislike Dragonlance by any means, but if I have a book to read, it's probably like I've read Dragons of Autumn Twilight, and it was like, it's fine. I don't know. The Dragonlance world is kind of interesting to me, and I feel like it was one of those that was just super developed by Weiss and Hickman. And TSR nabbed it, and now it's kind of like the Forgotten Realms. But the Forgotten Realms had Salvatore and a couple other authors that really expanded the realms a lot, and I don't know if the same thing happened with Dragonlance. So I don't know. It seems like D&D either molded Forgotten Realms more like D&D, or Dragonlance didn't get D&D wasn't influenced by Dragonlance as much as as much as D&D influenced Forgotten Realms. But if you're excited about Dragonlance, there's a new trilogy. This is announced for 2026, so we got a ways off, and who knows, anything could happen in 2 years. It could get canceled, but like the live series TV show got canceled and things like that. But this is going to be about, there are 2 characters here, the Solmanic Knight Huma Dragonbane and his closest companion, the wizard Magius. Their Huma Dragonbane was responsible for defeating the evil god Tachesis, which is Wizards of the Coast has said that Tachesis is Tiamat. Weiss and Hickman disagree. They think that they are not. But during the Dragon War, and then the wizard Magius fought so bravely that he explained why wizards have proficiency with daggers in Krynn. So this should be fun. I mean, I'm all for fun, more fantasy, and I think Dragonlance fans would get a kick out of this, so it'll be awesome. And then with that, if you want to read like the original stuff, they're releasing a Dragonlance of Autumn. This is Dragonlance Chronicles, but it's the first 3 books. So Dragons of Autumn Twilight, Winter's Night, and Spring Dawning. And this would be a fun collector's edition if you don't have the books, and so it's kind of like, go pick it up. I think that'd be fun. Yeah. And I'm looking at my stream activity really quick, making sure everything's good. Cool. So Dragonlance coming out. That should be fun. The release of Dragonlance Chronicles, which is, again, a re-release of the first 3 books. But if you go to any thrift store, you can probably find them there, too. But that's February 4th if you want a fun copy of Dragonlance. And actually, maybe I'll pick it up. Maybe I'm wrong about Dragonlance and I need to read it up. At Gen Con, and then later with a few media outlets, Wizards of the Coast released some monsters. We'll have a nice sip of coffee there. And with the monsters of the new monster manual, there was some talk of, did they get rid of legendary and lair actions, reactions, things like that. So I'm not entirely sure about the monster manual, what's going off, but I wanted to show some of this art. So they have this really cool like green dragon who is casting some kind of spell over these guys. I really like the art. And then here's like a preview of the new stat block. And so they say in this article that they've increased the HP of the ancient green dragon specifically. Things like, but it does have legendary resistance, but I guess it's these can take up to 3 reactions per round, but only 1 per turn. So I guess legendary actions are getting replaced with reactions, which is kind of big because a reaction could also be an attack of opportunity and things like that. So we'll see if this works out. I wanted monsters to be easier to run, and I don't know if these stat blocks actually help me do it as easier to run, because this is still half a page. And granted, this is a ancient green dragon, so this is what CR is this even? 22, yeah. So this is like pretty big, but at the same time, I don't know. That's the big takeaway with this. But they also have some this new monster manual here. Yeah, they had a Kuo-toa art that I thought was really fun. So this is a Kuo-toa riding on top of a hermit crab in some kind of crazy shell, and then this guy over here as well. And again, talking about how Kuo-toa deities are created and stuff. So Habitat Underdark treasures are relics. And then the same thing, they have a lot of extra reactions, and it says, yeah, and they have triggers for those reactions, which might help the things. It's becoming very video gamey, 5e, and I think it always was, but I think Baldur's Gate 3 is pushing that forward a little bit, which is interesting and expected, I guess, in a way. And so then we also have skeletons, and so we have a skeleton, warhorse skeleton, and not what I wanted. Yes, I want to do that. Flaming skeleton. But if you're interested, I have links down below. It just kind of shows that they are like Minotaur skeletons. HP is 45 HP from 67. Lost use of the great axe. It's kind of interesting to see the differences in designs, and I'm hoping when the monster manual is actually released, people will go through and kind of compare older monsters with newer ones. Maybe I'll do that because I'm always curious about game design with stuff like that, but it's, I don't know, it's interesting. There are a handful of people doing that now with the new 5e 2024 D&D book and spells, like Cure Wounds is like this in the old one, but it's like this in the new one. And is that good or bad? Who knows? There is a game jam, a Shadowdark game jam that I want you guys to check out. And this is called Weird Tales Shadowdark Game Jam. So Baron Derop of Dungeon Masterpiece created this. And although it says in here, where does it say? There's like a special thanks to, special thanks to Seth Skorkowski when he mentioned how hilarious it would be to reuse Wizard Cover Tales art for OSR adventures. And I'm going to correct you, Barrett. That was me. So I'm in a Discord with Barrett, and we were talking, and I was like, oh man, what if you made like these Weird Tales covers really feel cool about, like they feel like old school, RPG covers. Like you could make a whole adventure around this. And then Seth Skorkowski was like, oh, that's awesome. And he contributed to the conversation, and then Baron got confused about who actually came up with the idea. But I'm pretty sure it was me. And I just wanted to be like, Baron, you gotta go check your sources. So, but regardless, this is a really cool jam. So if you guys don't know, Weird Tales is a, let's see, let's get some more weird. So we have less nude people on the covers. Okay. So Weird Tales was a science fiction, science fantasy magazine. I think science fantasy and like horror from back in the day. And a lot of these covers, a lot of this art, and some of the articles are now public domain. And so what Baron did is he created this website that pulls the covers from, I think, like Wikipedia or Wiki Commons, and then puts them up here. And this Shadowdark game jam, you're supposed to write a Shadowdark adventure based on one of these covers. And so not the articles, not anything in it, but if you look at this and you're just like, oh, meet the sinister and mysterious Dr. Satan, the world's weirdest criminal. So you're going to make I can't zoom in, but you're going to make a video on Dr. Satan. That's either going to be, it's going to involve your in your game somehow. Or this one's called Weird Tales, The Perfect Host, and we have like a winged devil on top of a cliff or something. And so this is just supposed to inspire you. You're not supposed to utilize everything, but it's like, man, that devil and that, I want to incorporate that into my adventure, and it's going to be a Shadow Dark adventure, and like, you got the cover. So I really like this premise. I thought it was really fun when we were talking about it in Discord, and I wanted to make sure that you guys knew about the game jam. This starts today, August 10th, and it goes till August 29th, and then there's a voting period and some final judging. When you create this, it needs to be 8 pages or less, and it has to be free, I believe. And then all of the proceeds, there is a prize of a gift card, but then they're going to give the proceeds to Develop Africa to raise funds for education. So it's a good thing. It's awesome. It's fun. It's on itch.io. Links down below. There are 71 people entered already. You should, or who have joined, not actually added entries, because it just opened today. But yeah, check it out. I love the Weird Tales covers. I think they're very inspirational. So it's super fun. All right, and then moving on to some crowdfunding. Let's talk about crowdfunding. You guys heard about this Cosmere thing? That's cool. Like, holy cow. I know Brandon Sanderson raised an ungodly amount of money for his books that he created via Kickstarter. Like, he wrote a bunch during the pandemic, and man, talk about a person who can just write and work. Like, it blows me away how much that guy gets done. So there was the Stormlight RPG that was coming out, and I am not super familiar with the Cosmere universe, but Brandon Sanderson, the author of all of these books, he has got together to build with a bunch of RPG developers to build something that really could rival 5th edition D&D. And I know a lot of people say that, like, is this the 5e killer? And I don't think anything out there will be the 5e killer. I guess people considered Pathfinder had taken over D&D 5e during 4th edition, but like 5e didn't go away, and the name still is strong and holds recognition, and I think it will forever. It's not going to be like, oh man, I'm gonna call Cosmere like, do you want to play Cosmere? And they're like, oh, what kind of Cosmere? Oh, well, then we're going to play this Kids on Bikes Cosmere RPG. Like, the name Dungeons & Dragons is synonymous with tabletop RPGs. That being said, this is huge. Like, holy cow. And I don't know much about the world, but I am very curious about the system. And who knows if this blows up even higher. But it's already at 6.5 million, going up higher and higher, and it still has 19 days to go. So if you're interested in a new fantasy RPG, this might be the big thing. Brandon Sanderson is really known for creating magic systems and how to work. How he wants to explain magic. Like, how does magic work in your world? So he doesn't really do magic in the sense of I don't know. I'm trying to think of other fantasy things. Or Lord of the Rings, where magic isn't really explained because it's supposed to be really out there and unknown, and like, you are in the worldview of Bilbo Baggins or Frodo Baggins, and so they don't understand magic. So magic is always viewed as like mysterious and weird. But Brandon Sanderson wanted to understand magic, and so he, like, when his books, he has like very clear rules, like, this is how magic works, which is ideal for a tabletop RPG. So if you're interested in this, I think you don't necessarily need to back it, because it will definitely be available for many, many times to come. But this has got some big names to it. It looks really cool. And if you're curious, there's lots of people making YouTube videos on it. They were very smart and actually sent out a bunch of YouTubers like, hey, explain the Cosmere RPG system, like explain the mechanics and stuff. So they did a good job of this. Yeah. So this one, and D4 Deep Dive, he got a whole thing, a video on it. And these are like hour-long videos, so they did a great job. And then on top of that, you can go to DriveThru RPG, and there are some beta rules for free. So there's also a link down below if you're interested in this. I would, if you're curious, like I am, go ahead and pick it up. Now I got, can I open this? I want to open this file. Oh, it won't let me. Well, bother. Hang on. We're opening it anyway. Bang-a-ring. Okay, here we are. So I went and downloaded the files, and this is the Cosmere role-playing game. It's pretty straightforward. It's a 94-page book. I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I did flip through it, and so I want to check it out because I love game systems. I'm always curious about this, and I want to see, like, what are the magic works? How does magic work? How does other things work? There's a big thing that people are talking about called the... Oh, it's a die. What is it called? It's the... Oh, man. Plot die. That's what it is right here. So there's a plot die that does something to help you get certain opportunities or complications in various roles, and you can raise the stakes. It could be one of those facets that people like grab and talk into. They use the plot die, and they're like, I'm going to use this for other systems. I know that Shadow of the Weird Wizard or Shadow of the Demon Lord, Demon something. That game has an interesting mechanic where you get a bonus to your attack every round so that fights take less time, and it kind of works out really well. So super interesting there, but yeah, for sure, check this out. Like, it looks really cool. Oh, and then I went to Demiplane. They have the beta rules over on Demiplane in the Cosmere Nexus. So again, these guys were very smart, and they've already reached out to Roll20 and all these places. And so they're like, hey, we're going to launch on this day. BT dubs, if you want to grow the people that are interested in playing Cosmere, you should have like a landing point so people could start signing up for your service. So very, very cool. You can also go to the Cosmere Nexus and check that here via Demiplane. And I'm assuming Roll20, but I just didn't check on Roll20. So, and then the other crowdfunding news, this actually isn't released yet, but it launches soon. And this is Kobold Press's Labyrinth. So I don't know when this actually launches, but Labyrinth is their... Oh, I don't have the thing up there. But Labyrinth is kind of their Planescape setting. And I am very curious about this because I love Planescape. I like the idea of like traversing other worlds. And so the idea is you enter into the Labyrinth, and then it can take you via stairs or portals or directions to all these other different places. I think it'll be really fun. I'm mostly just really intrigued by this font because it's really pretty, but I'm curious about it. And so I know that Kobold Press actually has a small supplement. I say small, it's like 100 pages, but they have a 100-page PDF you can buy that has rules for the Labyrinth, but this is going to be kind of expand on the Tales of the Valiant multiverse, and it'll have an adventure path and things like that. So I'm really curious about this, and I like the idea of having another like hub place, I think, that you could go to planar travel. So it should be fun. We'll see. We got some design and inspiration. So for those of you who don't know, I've been working on an RPG. This is kind of just a labor of love called Modular D6, where it's a D6 system. Successes are measured in getting like a 5 or a 6 or a 4, 5, and 6 on a D6 die. And then it's a dice pool, and you roll and you see how many successes you get. I have been working on writing spell descriptions. So I took a bunch of the spells from older editions of D&D, but basically everything that was in the Creative Commons. And I took those spells, and then I'm tweaking them word-wise to make them work with my game. So with Modular D6, I need to go through and kind of configure all of those. I think I'm going to do like maybe 10 or so first and second level spells and really hash those out. And then also write a few monsters and then create a playtest package and put it out there. For those of you asking in chat, you should go to jorphdan.itch.io, jorphdan.itch.io. And I will be follow that page, and I will be releasing my current writing on there for free. because it's got to go up at some point. I've just been very busy, and I keep. I don't want to say I'm a perfectionist, but I really want it to look like. I want it to look like a game rather than just the Google Doc that I've been working on for the longest time. And if you are interested in playtesting with me, I am looking for playtesters that kind of match my schedule. So I just need to figure out, I don't know, I need to figure out some times that work, but my schedule is hectic. And I also need to write like a small little introductory adventure that I can run for people that are not my immediate friends and family. But yeah, Modular D6. I've been working on this. It's been fun. Monsters are... I want to keep monsters as simple as possible, so it's going to be, for the most part, a level. So if a monster... I was inspired by Cypher System and Monte Cook games, because a lot of monsters there are just like, this is a level 5 monster, so you need 5 successes to really like deal damage to it and things like that. So the idea of Modular D6 is that when I roll my pool of D6s, I can look down and be like, oh, I got 2 successes, and then we'll see if you beat like a damage threshold. But ideally, if it's a level 5 monster, you then did 2 points of damage, so it's now from 5 to 3. And so fights should go relatively fast, and I'm trying to look out for the Dungeon Master to make it simple on them, because part of my frustrations with a lot of RPGs is that I have to... If I want to get new players to play, I not only have to learn what all of the players can do, but then I have to like learn what the monsters can do. And I have to kind of like hold both of those in my head at the same time. And this way I can look at things and be like, oh, that feels like, I don't know, level 4 was pretty challenging for them, but that feels like a level 6. So we're going to do that and be like, it's a level 6 monster. Or I'm going to release, I want to make it a little more difficult. So I'm going to release, 1 level 6 monster that hits really hard, or 2 level 3 monsters that hit less but more often, or 6 level 1 monsters that are very easy to defeat but hit often because there's 6 of them. And I like the idea of a dungeon master being able to do the calculations like that really quick. So... and then that being said, inspired by Monte Cook Games, I wanted to highlight that they have a really cool character creator now. So if you go over to the Cypher System, or I have it linked, but it's tools.cypher-system.com. But basically go to montecookgames.com and create an account, and then yawn about it. And then from there, you can create some really cool things. So they have a guided tour, and you can be like, what kind of character do you want to make? And so it's like, I really want to make a fantasy character. And it'll tell you like, oh, our fantasy world is called Godforsaken. You should check out that book if you don't have it. But anyway, here you go. And then we say, well, what's the campaign flavor? And it's like, you know what? I really want to do magic. So we're going to do a magic flavor campaign. And then what do you want to be? An adept, an explorer, a speaker? I was like, I kind of want to be an explorer. And then we can search for, here are some of the things that explorers can do. Build with robots, channels divine blessings. This is just a really, as far as character creators go, I think they did a great job with this. And it helps you super figure out the style of character you like to play, and then helps you put that in there. So I'm going to say I craft unique objects, and then, yeah. Craft unique objects. So that's my focus. And then my descriptor, I'm, I don't know, I am clever. And then my second descriptor is that I am an elf. At a given tier, can I do anything else? Endurance, I guess. We'll add that ability. Sure. And then please select a total of 4 abilities. Oh, see? It's proved edge. Physical skills, trained without armor. And yeah, I am a clever elf explorer who crafts unique objects with a magical flavor. Boom. And then I go over a total of 5. Okay, well, I'd have to create skills and stuff, blah, 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 blah. But yeah, this is a really good character creation. Not good for a live stream talk show, but I wanted to highlight that they've been putting a lot of work into that, and it's awesome. So be sure to check that out. And thank you, Grinar, for having itch.io permanently open on your phone. I promise I will get you guys PDFs. If you guys are subscribed to my Patreon, I have uploaded some of the work there, and you can read it and tell me what you think about it. My games. So here's where I talk about some of the games that I've been running and playing on. Last time on the Table Talk show, I was saying, like, hey, later in the day, I'm going to be running my Planegea game, and I think I'm going to use some hallucinogenic mushrooms, because my players are in the equivalent of the Underdark, but it's the Venom Abyss. It's kind of like a dark tree canopy area of Planegea. And within there, they met some myconids, some mushroom folk, and have been assisting to help them with taking care of, various monsters and stuff that are inhabiting or encroaching upon their lair. So they took care of the monster. They came back. There was a big party, and I offered them, like, hey, you guys should eat these mushrooms. They want you to eat these mushrooms to partake of this, like, joyous festival. So a lot of my players were like, I'm not eating any mushrooms. But then when one player took a mushroom, I gave him an inspiration coin, which I hand out coins for inspiration so they can reroll die. And I gave them an inspiration coin, and then they were like, oh, we get a coin if we eat it? So then everybody ate it because they wanted coins. And we had a really fun fight that was, like, in their mind. And I got to do some interesting things with monsters because ultimately it was a hallucination, but I actually used monster stat blocks. It wasn't like everything was an illusion. I wanted them to feel like they were actually fighting off these crazy monsters, and things were popping up, and undead creatures were coming out of graves, and it was a lot of fun. Like, I had a good time. And then at the very end, I had to wrap it up kind of quick because of time constraints. I had Lulth, like, pop out of the monster at the very end and basically shout, like, you will never find the idols, and death for you is coming, and, you know, big scary stuff like that. So a lot of fun with that, and we're not going to play again until the 24th. So I have a little bit of time to kind of figure out where I'm going to go with that, but I still have 2 more idols that they need to find to protect their god, Urhosh. And again, if you guys are interested in this, if you don't know anything about Planegea, it's prehistoric Dungeons & Dragons 5e, and it's awesome. I'm having so much fun with it. Really fun, interesting place. So I don't know if I will play in it for the rest of my life. It hasn't taken me over like that, but I do like it a lot. I like creative settings, and Planegea is one of the more creative settings that I think I've ever played in. So tomorrow I'm running. So tomorrow I'm running DCC Dying Earth. I was supposed to run this 2 weeks ago, but a lot of the party canceled, and we ended up playing a quick version of Mothership instead. But the people at my table really wanted to play DCC, and so I offered to play, and I said, hey, I want to run through these Dying Earth scenarios, and they said, okay. We did the level 0, and they had a good time. They leveled up their characters, and now we're going to play the level 1 adventure, The Laughing Idol of Shan, which is a pretty fun adventure involving some brandy, like alcoholic brandy that basically can make you live forever, but at a very extreme cost. It's kind of like drinking unicorn blood in the Harry Potter world, I imagine. Something silly like that. And your players are hired to, like, find a bottle of brandy for whatever reason, and they have to go through the adventure. It's fun. It's kind of a mystery puzzle with, like, a lot of good combat, and I'm just excited to see where these players take their characters. I think it'll be really interesting. So as far as Dungeon Crawl Classics, I think I like DCC. I like Dying Earth as a setting for DCC a lot. And one of the things about Dungeon Crawl Classics is, like, the adventures are really fun, but I really always wanted there to be, like, a overarching world that kind of connected things, because I guess I'm a lore guy and I like lore and things like that. And the Dying Earth did that. Ironically, Lankmar didn't do that. I didn't really get sucked into Lankmar, but it's probably because the Lankmar books didn't excite me as much as the Dying Earth books. So after reading the Dying Earth, I was like, I really like this world, and it's been a lot of fun to play Dungeon Crawl Classics in that setting because the two of them work really well together. So, and yeah, anyway, that's my show, guys. As always, there are links in the chat below you can catch this on Substack as a podcast. There is a Google form link if you want to leave me questions, and I'll try to answer them in the next episode. Usually live. I can go over some questions if you guys are interested in things like that. I will be here not next week because I am camping, but I do plan on pre-recording a show and uploading it, so there will be a show available on Saturday, I do believe. So subscribe to this channel. Catch us live Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Pacific. And stay awesome. Play games. Be good to people. Go pet a dog. Unless you don't know that dog, and then don't go pet him, because that could be dangerous. But if you do know the dog, then pet him and be good to him. Hashtag be good to your animals. I don't know. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. I will see you next week. And thank you guys again for subscribing and hanging out. And we'll talk to you in the next episode.